So even with that, man, how can we bridge the relationship, not only on the collegiate level, but on the youth level with parents and coaches? Because I know that becomes a conflict of interest. I know even for myself, coaching youth basketball, sometimes you see that the player wants to gravitate to you, but now the loyalty is kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Like I know you know what you're talking about, coach.
Yeah.
My mom feeds me, clothes me, sees me off to school. So that conflict of interest calls for them to kind of not give you their all per se, because they're like, I gotta still make mom happy. You and her aren't seeing eye to eye, or you and my dad aren't seeing eye to eye. So how can we better help that situation? Some method.
Again, I think that the parents should be educated on exactly what's like reality. You have perception, and then you have reality. And now that doesn't mean that reality is final, right? But the perception that any parent has that their kid is the best thing since sliced bread, right? Now, they may not treat the kid that way. They may be on the kid and hard on the kid. But in terms of everybody else, right? My kid is the one. So don't mess with my kid. Don't, mistreat my kid, treat my kid bad or anything. But I think parents should understand that one, the reality is, especially in youth sports like you're not going to be able to cash that check. They in 5th through 8th grade. Parents have to, and I like to consider myself a straight shooter when it comes to these type of, things, but parents have to stop idolizing their kids from an athletic standpoint.
Exactly.
And they have to let the coach. Because obviously, if you allow for your kid to come with me, at some point you trusted me.
That's right.
With your kid. And so what happened, during that process to where now the trust was broke? Well, the trust was probably broken because of feelings and emotions, as well as ego.
That's right.
And so now, because somebody's feelings and emotions have come into play, as well as somebody's ego, now that's on either side, right, JT? So when I speak of education, the parents have to be educated on who is a good individual for my kid. Does that make sense? Like, you can be a star athlete when you were, you could have played in the pros, you could have played a high level college, you could be a one of those names on the front of a jersey and coach for one of those teams, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're right for my kid, based on my kid's learning style, based on, if you know what you're doing, or again, that perception, if I think that you know what you're doing. And so now, again, the same way with that scholarship, with that binding contract, once you get them there, and now they aren't doing what you would like for them to do, now you get upset, you get emotional, egos come into play. Well, you didn't play my kid a lot. How come my son or daughter is coming out? Why do you treat others the same way? Well, when parents get more educated on, okay, well, what are you, Coach Burks, treating my kid as a basketball player, or are you, Coach Burks, treating my kid as a human being?
That's right.
That plays basketball. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
And so if you just treat that kid can play. Now, if that kid doesn't do what you think they can do or what you need them to do, and again, if parents don't understand how to spot authentic individuals out, if they're coaches, teachers, educators, whatever, now if that coach is strictly about winning, especially at the youth level, it's basketball is so bad at this point because it's all about winning, and it's not about development of the individuals. And so if this individual is not talking about developing my kid as a person just as much, if not more, as a player, you're probably not the one for my kid. Now, that's just me talking. So I think the disconnect comes because the parents just see their child as the athlete.
Exactly.
And, you know, they're looking to cash this meal ticket in early, but they don't understand before that happens. You know, I always say, Joel Embiid made the term trust the process famous, right?
Yep.
That looked good on the shirt.
Exactly.
But that process is maybe that individual needs to be deprogrammed, to be reprogrammed. You know, maybe that athlete needs to be broken down to be built up. Well, in that breaking down stage, in that deprogramming stage, it's going to be some adversity.
That's right.
You're the parent that's always pulling your kid, transferring schools, transferring teams, transfer portal, right? All of that, that's just running away from the problem and not being able to stick with and deal with adversity, you know, because we really find out who we are in times of adversity. You know, how does a person react? You know, so in doing that, now as they work themselves through that adversity, that now builds up their character, right? So now, even if that athlete doesn't go pro, doesn't get a full scholarship, or even don't go to school to play basketball, they've learned practical life lessons throughout this time in playing this sport to become a professional.
Amen to that.
In whatever career they choose, because all professionals not going to be in sports.
That's right.
They may be a professional law enforcement, professional lawyer, dentist, teacher, whatever it may be. But now they can use those same principles that they applied and learned through basketball and be reused in their life. So, I think with parents, they have to, stop idolizing their kid. And then they also have to get educated on, is this individual right for my child as a person, not just as a basketball player.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, awesome information, man. That's key.